Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the World Championship Series Europe for our Premier League, day number 2 of 4. Yeah, it's only getting hotter from here. Yesterday we saw a terrific battle in Group A, but Vortex was just too strong for those pesky Koreans and went through without a loss. But MMA, the defending champion, did manage to make it through at the loss of MVP and Bunny. Today we're going to move on to Group B. Before we get there, though, let's have a look at all 16 players who qualified for the round of 16 in Season 1 2014. As I said, we'll concentrate on Group B today. Tomorrow we'll move on to Group C with Welmu. Any cheers for Welmu? No? Okay. TLO? No cheers for TLO? Oh, there we go, okay. I thought he might get a few. Stardust and Baby Knight are also in there. And then on Friday, we'll go for Group D with the Boss Toss, San, Nurchio, and a man who's qualified for his first ever round of 16. I'm pleased to say we finally got a Brit in the round of 16. We'll see how he gets on Friday. But today, though, we've got Group B. So let's go and meet one of our other commentators who is on the show. Kalaris is with me to talk about Group B. How are you doing?
Not too bad, not too bad.
Let's just have a quick chat about yesterday, because that was quite a group for Vortex, wasn't it?
Yeah. Again, coming back to that, I kind of expected him to do very, very well there.
You picked Vortex and MMA to go through.
I've been trying to pick Vortex every single season. It wasn't working out too well, but now it's looking all right. So maybe this one, maybe this one.
All right, okay. We're going to concentrate on Group B, as I said today. So let's show you the 4 players in contention for the 2 spots to go through to the quarterfinals. And they look like this, hopefully, any moment now. We can talk about them while we get the graphic up for you. Grubby, Jjakji, Daishi, and Snoot. All very different backgrounds as far as WCS is concerned. We've got Jjakji, who was 6th last year in WCS Korea. Daishi, who's never been to the round of 16 before, but now finally makes it. Snoot also making his appearance for the first time in Europe, but he was in WCS America last year. And Grubby, a returning player who, of course, has already been this far. He actually went all the way to the semi-finals in Season 2. So some form from all 4 players, but it's such a mixed bag. I think, and you may disagree, but I think this is the most difficult one to call.
It's pretty difficult, yeah, especially considering how their roads have led up to this point, with the fact that this is the most diverse group throughout the entire WCS system so far, with one of them coming from the Korean region, one of them coming from America, 2 still from Europe. For me, a lot of eyes are on Jjakji in terms of what he's going to do here, because he needs to validate leaving the Korean region after being one of only 4 Terrans in that season of GSL, and then leaving it as 3. Now he really needs to perform and needs the results to validate leaving that region and leaving that position. Yeah,
and not only that, he has been in terrific form over the last 6 months, but the problem with him, if anything, is that he still hasn't won a major title since 2011. In StarCraft years, that's actually about 20 years, I think. But he goes up against a player tonight who is also still in search of his first title in StarCraft 2, a man who's won over 30 in Warcraft 3, Grubby. And they go head-to-head in our first match. So we'll talk about them in just a moment. But the other 2 are interesting as well, Snoot and Daishi. Daishi had a terrific round of 32. When you look at the players he beat, you know, he's beaten Mini Razor, great. That's 2-0. Mini Razor's no slouch. He's a very good Swedish player. But San, 2-1 victory over San in the round of 32, really sent a signal that Daishi means business this season. As you can see on your screen, our brackets are matched up like this. Jjakji versus Grubby is our first game, and Snoot, Daishi will follow it up. So what do you make of the 4 then? I'm going to put you on the spot. Yeah, 4 very diverse players, sure, all different types of backgrounds. 100% record is on the line, Kalaris.
For one group.
For one group.
Perfect. I don't know. I think I'm going to have to go with the boring picks and say maybe like Jjakji and Snoot here. Of course, it can go any way because of how diverse this is. And we've seen Daishi time and time again be an absolute Korean killer, for example. Although his record against Korean players as of late, yes, he beat San 2-1. He beat Jaedong 2-1 at the Wear Invitational as well. But other than that, there hasn't been a huge amount of good results against Koreans as of late. We all know him famously for doing so well in team leagues against the Koreans, but there's only one of them to contend with here. And then obviously you've got a player like Snoot in there that's doing pretty well in Germany. I would say Germany is Snoot's home turf away from home when it comes to him doing well. In Krefeld, he always does well at the Home Story Cups, Seat Story Cups. Will he follow that on through here in Cologne? Okay, so game 1 is Grubby versus Jjakji. On paper, Jjakji's recent form, he's over 70% in all 3 matchups, so he's in red-hot form right now. Grubby, on the other hand,
his PVT right now is his lowest. It's his weakest at 49.3% across all games, not just WCS. We'll also show you some WCS stats in a little bit of time. They've only met once, and it was in the qualifying rounds of this very tournament this year, 2014. And Grubby came through that 2-1, but I'm not sure how much stock you can put on that game when it comes to working out whether one's stronger than the other right now.
It's interesting that you actually bring up the statistics for these two players, because the way in which it has actually worked out during all of the WCS season for these guys is that Jjakji's TVP is buffered up by a lot of the weekly tournaments that he plays and stuff like that, and he gets to those high percentages. But in records of WCS, where it really matters for him to perform against Protoss, it's not that amazing. It's not as high up as 70%. And then you come to a player like Grubby, who in WCS at the moment, when it comes to playing against Terrans, has actually done really well for himself. Season 2, going back to that, he beat 4GG and MVP during his road to a very, very high finish in that season, and now sits at a much higher percentage in his WCS games than his overall record. So this could be cool. I'm looking forward to this. This could certainly be an upset.
He always preps well. We know that.
Yeah.
He missed out on IEM and going to Katowice because he wanted to focus on WCS. So it's time to see whether that's going to pay off or not for him this evening. He's also in search, as we've already said, first title. And at 27, he's the oldest player left in the round of 16. Daishi, by the way, is the youngest player left in the round of 16. He's also in the same group. He needs to find a Premier tournament, doesn't he?
Yeah, I would say so. I mean, if you look at Grubby's career and how consistent he was in Warcraft 3, you could technically make the argument that being able to transition that skill over to StarCraft 2, he's still the consistent player that he was. Obviously, there's ups and downs in that. But he is looking for that Premier tournament. He's a champion. He's a winner. He's a guy that wants that top spot.
Okay, thank you very much, Kalaris. We'll hear a little bit more from Kalaris later on in the programme. We've got 5 matches for you this evening. Our first one is just moments away. The map veto is just being set up, which means it's time to go over to our commentary team. Before I do that, though, just a quick reminder for you. Do keep your tweets coming. They could feature in the show, and use the hashtag #WCS. If you fancy sending a little bit of love to our friends at Blizzard, use @StarCraft as well. All the usual channels are available to you on Facebook and on Twitter. Also, let us know who's going to win our first matchup. Is it Grubby, the King of Orcs, or is it Jjakji, the new pretender to the crown in Europe? Let's find out with our commentary team of Apollo and Todd.
Thank you very much, Red Eye and Kalaris, and welcome to the casting desk, everybody. How are you doing this evening, Todd?
I'm doing great. We got a Protoss playing today, so maybe I can finally drop some knowledge. Maybe.
Yes, I'm sure you will. And it's a person that you've been quite close with over recent. We're practicing and talking and discussing the game. So definitely looking forward to your insight here, as we do have Grubby going head-to-head with a player who's come to Europe and he's come to conquer, Jjakji.
I feel very conflicted and close about this group, because we have a Frenchie, we have Grubby, who I've known forever, used to be teammate with him in Warcraft 3. We have Jjakji, one of the best players, I think, right now that's living in Europe and performing very, very well. And then we have Snoot, who, in my opinion, is one of the best foreigners right now. Yesterday, we saw Vortex really bringing it. Now it's going to come down to, can Snoot also deliver like he did very recently in the Seed Story Cup, which, if you think about it, the Seed Story Cup, it was also a little bit of a preview as to what we might see here. We had Daishi and Grubby in the same group there. They faced twice, and Daishi was able to win twice. So now, they are not going to play as the first match. They might not play at all, but Grubby lost twice to a guy who's in his group now, and who I guess you could consider weaker than Jjakji in PvT. So that's going to be one thing we have to keep in mind, basically.
All right, well, as you've seen on screen, the map pool of the World Championship Series here contains 7 maps. This is a best of 3, so both players have the option to remove 2 maps apiece, which leaves us with 3 remaining. And it looks like Grubby is going to decide the first map of this best of 3, and it's Yonsu.
Yeah, basically the most standard map, in my opinion, we say like Frost, and there it is. And Habitation Station, going to be our third map. Very, very, I guess, standard maps. No Alterzim, no Daedalus. Those maps very, very often removed in the matchup, I would say. So this should be good, man.
There is that pin on Jjakji's chest. If you may
He's
not
such
remember,
a gold digger, man. This is all you notice.
He is a gold. I'm a massive gold digger, and he's bringing the gold to the table today. I've seen MVP's badges. I saw the lack of MMAs. He didn't actually wear his, but Jjakji has got his on. And if you didn't know, Jjakji, a former GSL champion back in November 2011, definitely had a difficult decline in 2012. It was I suppose it was coming towards the end of Wings of Liberty. Terran players were struggling anyway, as we saw Zerg rise to the top. But in 2013, in Heart of the Swarm, Jjakji also made his rise back up with, strong performances throughout, and managing in Season 3 to get a 6th place in the World Championship Series in Korea, but makes his debut here in Europe. But here is Grubby, a person that you can talk for hours about, I'm sure.
Yeah. As you can see with the stats here, he's done very well against Terran in WCS overall, 69%, definitely a good ratio. Grubby is somebody who takes the biggest tournaments very, very seriously. We talked about it yesterday. There is no more premier tournament than the Premier League. So he takes this extremely seriously. He's been skipping tournaments to take part in this. The last tournament he took part in was the Seed Story Cup. Behind that, he didn't go to Katowice to prepare for this year. He did not play any online tournaments. He did not stream. He used to stream so much.
Yeah, I think he took a 2-week break since the last time he streamed, solely for the purpose of practicing for today. And will that preparation be useful here? Because this is a big match, and we all know and love Grubby, and he's always got goals that are much larger than you may think in the initial scope of things here. And I'm definitely sure he's thinking of a very long and successful 2014, considering that he's yet to conquer really in StarCraft 2, considering who he was in Warcraft 3. And we'll see if he has come into this prepared, and I think that's probably the word to describe him for today's group.
And Grubby, he's upset Jjakji. He's beat Jjakji before in the past, but I feel like the Jjakji we're seeing now is the version 2.0, the new Jjakji, the one that's almost completely all-in proof. I never see Jjakji losing to Protoss all-ins anymore. Maybe a few weeks back there was some blink all-ins here and there that worked when he was a little bit asleep, but today I really don't think we're going to see any all-in working against this guy, because he's practiced so much scouting for it, making sure it's ready, and this guy simply does not die. That's the way I would describe him. Solidity, and he just never dies. He's always ready for everything. He might be 20 supply behind, he might look hopeless. He's going to find good positioning, he's going to get a good concave, he's going to micro perfectly in a fight, and he's unkillable. I just played him in Acer Team Story Cup a few days ago, and I just couldn't kill him. I was doing some good damage, some War Prism drops with some Zealots. Every time I attacked, he held, and it just doesn't work.
So what type of angle could Grubby possibly taken to approach this first game, this best of 3? Where do you think he's looking at potential weaknesses of Jjakji, if he's looking to exploit anywhere?
It's hard to say, because I've done the same myself. When going into a match against Jjakji, you need to think about his style, the way he's playing, kind of predictable, but super solid. And you need to think about what holes there might be in his defense. Say in the mid game. In the early game, it's going to be very hard to surprise him, as I said. It's not impossible, but it's pretty close to impossible. In the mid game is where you could see something happen, like say 3 Colossus, mass units attack at some point. Grubby used to be a big fan of Dark Templars in the mid game. Now, I just feel like we've reached a point where everybody is so good against Dark Templars that it just wouldn't work. But with Grubby, you never know. This guy can make things like this work when nobody else would be able to, with some nice DT drop, something like that. So we'll see if it's his unit of choice. But if I was to make a prediction out of Grubby, because I expect Jjakji to play fairly standard, even though he could surprise us in at least one of the games, I would say Grubby goes for something like Colossus, and probably goes into Blink as well, takes a 3rd base, and then he either try and go for a timing before going into Storm, or he rushes to Storm with this while getting Colossus, and then tries to hit like a timing when he's almost maxed out or reaches upgrades. I don't think we're going to see double Forge, but with Grubby it's always an option as well.
All right, my prediction is Grubby's going to use probes and pylons and see where that takes him. Jjakji's been all over the place in the last couple of months. Has played in all 3 major tournaments this year, from Sao Paulo to Cologne to Poland in the World Championship. All his games are out there. There's a lot of information on him. That could be a weakness coming into this, but overall, despite playing all those tournaments, he's smashed it so far this year. Currently 6th in the world in the World Championship Series ranking, and now he goes head-to-head. A very lovable character. And down here in the bottom left-hand side of Yonsu, playing for My Insanity, it's none other than Jjakji. Jjakji's gonna kill you. Jjakji's gonna... that kind of music, it just... Yeah.
That's not very nice for Grubby.
And then up here to the top right, as the blue Protoss player, it's Grubby. And what is he going to bring to the table today?
Katowice replays have been released, right?
Yes,
And
almost
SOS beat
straight away.
SOS beat Jjakji 3-0 in some games. I guess if those games were surreal.
Was that the one with the carriers
Yeah,
on?
those games were just surreal.
Yeah.
You cannot really go into a series and be like, oh, you know what? I'm just going to reproduce what SOS just did, and it's going to go well. So then again, with somebody like Grubby, who's, again, we've talked about this. He's been preparing exclusively for this. That's all he's been thinking about. Is he going to deliver against somebody as solid as Jjakji? It's going to be tough.
Well, we've already seen 2 players make it to the quarterfinals. Yesterday, Vortex and MMA. And today, we shall complete the halfway point and find 2 more to join those 2. And we already have a couple of strategies and openers from both of these players.
Yeah.
We have a later gas taken, just on 15 supply there for Jjakji, which looks more so as a reactor expansion, so like 2 Marines, reactor, and then an expansion. But Grubby's taking fast double gases here.
Yeah, this could be Hero's build. If he keeps 16 probes there, he's going to do that. He's going to, oh no, 15, 14. Okay, so he's actually going to mine a little bit from his gases, just 1+1, so he can keep at least 15, 14 probes on the minerals to make sure he gets as much of that as possible. So that means he wants to go into a quick nexus, but have the double gas to keep Jjakji doubting whether if he goes for a Stargate or Blink behind this. He's actually going for a quick scout with this. And he has the second pylon in his main, and he didn't rush the Cybernetic core or the gateway, so I don't think it's going to be a proxy Stargate. Just check the watchtower here for a second. Maybe making sure he's not getting cheesed, because I guess this could be risky. But he did start his Zealot.
He's bringing his probe back now that did move out to the Zelnaga tower. And Grubby keeping his options open with the double gases here. Can choose from technically all 3 tech trees once the Cybernet's core completes and the Nexus has been thrown down. Jjakji, on the other hand, though, spots the Nexus and has identified the potential threat of Grubby's different options here.
That probe on the natural of Grubby, I thought for a second he might go for a pylon there to hide some tech, but I think he's just hiding it from the SCV and Reaper to try and get it across the map so he can scout. So you will see which route he chooses to go for. And you see he's trying to dodge a potential Reaper that would be there. And we're going to have a quick factory from Jjakji. So I did not expect this. When I said Jjakji is going to play standard, I expected a Reaper into basically a CC, additional barracks, just the port build sort of. Not necessarily with the big commitment on 3 barracks, but at least 3 barracks. But now going for the factory, this is interesting.
What is Grubby doing down here on the right-hand side? He's moved a probe out, he's thrown down a pylon here, and still, out of all the tech choices he could choose from, nothing has been selected now. He's going to throw it down there most likely when this pylon finishes.
He queued another Stalker, so he's not going to have enough gas to start a Stargate quickly. So unless he cancels that Stalker, I think this should be a Twilight. Which, as much as it could be for Dark Templars, and we've talked about this, I'm still thinking more Blink now. But then again, if you go for Blink, I feel like it's smarter to just wall off in your base so you can be scouted and you put the Twilight in your main. So we'll see.
Grubby could be walking into a problem with no scouting information that he's gathered himself. He has no idea what Jjakji's doing, who has elected to go for the factory. He's got Winter Mines on the way with a starport, so he's going to be able to drop them inside Grubby's potential mineral lines here.
You know what? This could go very well for Grubby if he's fortunate. I don't expect Grubby to not go for any detection at all. I expect to see at least a Forge. And look, he's left his probe there. I'm pretty sure this is going to be a Dark Shrine. And Jjakji is about to spot this. Maybe before the Dark Shrine starts.
Wow.
Oh, wow. That is so sick that it just happened now. Because if the Dark Shrine had been started, then Grubby would have had to face a choice. Does he cancel or not? Usually he would have had to cancel. And in this case, he's not even going to start anything. Jjakji now is going to be a little bit paranoid about this whole situation. He's going to... And he starts the Dark Shrine in his main. This is so interesting. The placement too. If this gets scans, Jjakji will not necessarily see it, and this is going to be a DT drop. Grubby, I feel like he's transitioned. I don't think he was planning for this. Yeah,
well, Marines are moving over to the right-hand side here, and they're just probably going to kill the Twilight Council on that pylon. There's a couple of Widow Mines with them too, and both players going to be ready for this, because of course Grubby's going to have to be ready for potential Widow Mine placements, but also Jjakji's got to be ready for Dark Templar play here. He's going to move to the right-hand side and we'll kill off these structures, and there is a probe on the left-hand side of the map. I suppose that's for a pylon here, quite close towards Jjakji's base for these Dark Templars to be warped in.
Wow, and Jjakji is kind of... I'm not sure if we can call this bluffing, but he hasn't made any bay. I think he thinks that because he spotted this, there is no way there is going to be Dark Templars. He's thinking that Grubby would have bought for sure.
Well, he's got a tank and an engineering bay on the way now.
Man, he's going to have to scan soon, but there is a pylon near the base of Jjakji. If DT's getting there, starts slicing up SCVs, he's going to be in so much trouble. He comes back with the Marines. That's what I was worrying about.
Well, no observers on the field yet, and these Widow Mines are going to place one inside the main mineral line. And how many kills is it going to get?
2.
Just one there, and then the other to the natural. And... oh, it actually does get borrowed there, but only a single kill, so 2 kills overall. But now as Jjakji got the information, he should have seen the Dark Shrine here with all this.
Oh, and I like the choice by Grubby. I think he realized that the units of Jjakji were back at home, most likely waiting for DTs to go there. So he didn't send a single one.
He's got one now, just about to walk past the Marines and tank. Whoopsie daisy, Jjakji.
Wow.
And there's a Dark Templar in the mineral line here, going to deal out some counter damage of his own.
There is no scan ready. 32 and 33 energy on those CCs here. So Jjakji is going to lose quite a lot here. This is looking pretty good here for Grubby, I have to say. Behind this, he's got his Colossus tech starting. Look, he starts the first Colossus.
Yeah, surprising that, considering that Jjakji did see the Dark Shrine. Not too sure what was going through his mind at that point, but the turret is about to complete inside the main base. But he's lost a lot to a single Dark Templar here. A second one gets immediately picked off. But that's a lot of damage this Dark Templar has done. Killed multiple SCVs. 12 SCVs have been killed.
Wow. And you know, at this level, when you spot something and you know that basically your opponent knows that you know, stay with me here. A lot of the time, you're going to be thinking, what is he going to do next? How is he going to react to this? And a lot of the time, if you see a Dark Shrine, since your opponent's going to know that you're most likely going to be ready for it, you think he's going to abort. So this might be one of those cases of Jjakji thinking, well, I saw the Dark Shrine, he's not going to be foolish enough to still send Dark Templars, but Grubby is not foolish. He had calculated this could happen, and this happened.
Yeah.
Jjakji was out of position. He capitalized on that. Now he's going to have to do a lot of damage with this double drop. A Widow Mine in the natural, Marines in the main. This has not been spotted yet.
And one Bora's there, and this could get quite a few kills. That's not too bad, up to 6 kills there. That's quite nice, actually. And even the Mothership Core here, and Grubby actually losing quite a few units here. The Time Warp goes down, but that's not going to stop these Marines from killing it, even a pylon potentially. And,
oh my god, this was so bad. What just happened? 6 probes plus the
Mothership Core.
Yeah, with 165 energy. That's basically double photon overcharge you can kind of consider here. Another DTs will be sent in natural world this time. Not again, says Jjakji, and Jjakji is, because of this move now, he's regained the lead. I really think that if this hadn't happened, if he had done minimal damage, say like 1 probe and no Mothership Core killed, Grubby would still be ahead. But because of this, Jjakji, I think he's doing fine now. And Jjakji, though, he has a weird army. Like he has this one awkward tank in his composition, which he's, by the way, sending across the map.
Yeah, he is sending across the map here. This has been a very fast-paced game here, and it looks like both players still continuing with that trend as we have an aggressive move out from Jjakji, but we also have a Warp Prism with double Zealots in it on the other side as well. And Grubby trying to slow the pace of this game down a little bit himself with double Forge and just trying to lock down defense, cannons coming in, defensive Warpins. But Jjakji's being aggressive now, and he's got on the natural. He's also inside the main base. Not too much damage dealt in the main. But then also we have this Warp Prism with the double Zealots there. Looks like Grubby is going to be fine. He is defending in 2 locations quite well, but how much damage is this Warp Prism going to do?
Across the map. This is something that works very well against Jjakji because he's always across the map doing harassment, so you can kill SCVs if you do this, but now he was ready. He came back.
Oh, he's lost a Colossus inside the main base. That's never a good sign to see the legs of a Colossus left over there. A Dark Templar gets warped in to help out. A cannon and Photon Overcharge is now activated, I think that is. And Jjakji does get pushed out, but once again, both players very aggressive. But if we look at the numbers here, you think Jjakji's still leading? 94 supply to 78.
He's doing okay.
He's killed a lot of stuff.
Yeah, he's got a nice supply lead. The thing is, Grubby is going to complete 1-1. Behind this, I don't think he's going to take any more damage because he has Blink now. He's going to be careful. He's got his Mothership Core, even though he doesn't have much energy because he just used Photon Overcharge.
Seems quite close.
Yeah, I think we go into a standard game from there with a third base from both players. Yeah. And it's crazy to say that because we had so much actions. So much stuff happening already in this game. It could have gone very differently. By the way, funky placement on that second eBay and Armory by Jjakji in his main.
He's also missing combat shields too. Obviously a crucial upgrade in any matchup.
You think he knows?
Upgrade you want to know? I'm not too sure about it because I think he would have started it by now if he knew. But we'll see how long that's not going to be present in this game. But so far, Grubby, I think is going to start to look for an expansion himself now. And he's completed 1-1. He would love to start 2-2, but he is also still adding on a couple of gas-heavy units here.
This was very good that he sniped the Observer, by the way, because we have a single Observer out right now for Grubby when he would like to have at least 2 or 3 to make sure he knows what's headed his way. So I think he's going to figure out that Jjakji is taking a third. He's going to want to take his own third. You see, he just cleaned the Marine that there was on his third base on the top left-hand side.
Both players here cleaning out their respective third bases. Jjakji with a full army and then the Zealot up to the top left here. And the game goes on. Whew, what a start to the World Championship Series today is Grubby going head-to-head against Jjakji here. 2 Colossus, a decent army. It is quite decent. Does he have Stalkers inside the main base too? Yeah, he does. So actually, with Blink as well, he's actually quite solidly set himself up now. and he will be spreading himself to that third base. But that's a powerful army that Jjakji has. Not too many Vikings, only 4. There are 3 Colossus, so a head-on fight still not possible here for Jjakji.
Grubby was very stubborn, by the way, with not making cannons in his mineral lines for a very long time. So now I think he made one earlier in his main. Maybe he got killed. Now he's remade one. He's not making one in his natural because it cannot really be accessed from anywhere. The units will not see it coming. And I'm surprised he hasn't. Oh, he wants to start the third Nexus where there is a Marine just below his main.
Yeah, and that's not going to work out too well. The Prob has no chance to build that Nexus. Double drops were spotted, though. But without a third base, Grubby is, I would say, vulnerable or starting to become vulnerable to a massive Viking attack. Yeah. Without a third base, when you dedicate to double forges, that's a lot of gas. He's got no Templar Archives down, and with the second starport coming in, the Viking count now is at still 4. It's about to be 6, but we'll start to rise up there. He's got to start thinking about the Templar Archives soon.
I haven't seen Jjakji pull SCVs often, though. Like, I think he strikes me more as the kind of guy that will wait for, like, Blink, maybe? Not going to get in Venivac. Jjakji is more that guy who waits for until he has like 14 Vikings. And then he gets in there and he snipes all the Colossi and wins the fight. He doesn't need to pull SCVs. But if he was to do so, Grubby has been chrono boosting his forges in priority. So he's not nearly as high on the Colossi count as he could be otherwise. He's starting a 5th one now.
What do you think about this double expansions here by Grubby, who has been delayed from a third base quite a bit? He just slaps down 2. He's like, well, you know, I was late with a third. I might as well get a 3rd and 4th.
He had a lot of money because he didn't make extra gateways.
Yeah.
He's been on
7 for a long time.
7 gateways for a very long time. He's cut pro production as well for quite a while. You see Jjakji quite far ahead. Jjakji is with making those probes and those SCVs and macroing. He's very impressive. I think he's one of his most impressive fit in. I know there are people who are thinking, well, he's a pro gamer. Of course, he's good at making that. But it's actually very hard to be consistent as he is in every single game.
Guys, I really fear for Grubby at the moment because Jjakji's army is becoming so strong.
Yeah.
He's got so many Vikings. There's so many units here. And Grubby without Storm, without 3/3s, he is weak a little bit at this point. Without a massive army or being able to flank with High Templar.
This is the perfect timing that Jjakji can hit right now. Look at the production type. 3/3 is on the way. Storm is on the way. If Jjakji can attack just before this or overall before this ends, or this is completed, he's going to do pretty well. But Grubby's going to buy some time.
I was going to say, I think Grubby may realize he's a little bit weak right now. He sends quite a few Zealots down this right-hand side, buying him a lot of time. He needs to get some Templar out, needs to bank some energy, and needs to get that Storm upgrade here. As the Viking count now at a very comfortable 12 point with 3
Vikings across the map.
As well.
What are they doing?
Well, that's
3.
He was at 14, now he's at 11.
He misrallied his... Yeah, look, his starports, he just rallied them in front of his naturals.
Seemed like he was getting ready to push at that point with all his production facilities going on the other side of the map there, but Grubby did pull him back a little bit.
This is a big deal. He would have been on 13 Vikings now. Jjakji, I did not expect this out of him.
And, well, Grubby has got the time to get Storm now. He's got High Templar, and we know that Grubby's very good with using the High Templar. He's got a nickname or whatever you guys call him, Weather the Storm or Storm is it Grubby today or whatever.
What's the weather like today?
What's the weather like today? I don't know that phrase. Whatever you guys call it. Let's see if he can use his High Templar well in this game, because he's going to need to. He's also approaching 3/3, so he's going to get much, much stronger within the next 60 seconds or so. But Jjakji needs to attack soon. That's where he is going to be at the strongest, unless he drags out a lot himself and is able to get to 3/3 and wants to fight 200 army versus 200 army, or should I say 200 supply versus 200 supply. And also Grubby's got that 3rd and 4th now kicking in both at the same time.
I feel like Grubby has done a very good job of throwing Jjakji off his game. Because Jjakji usually will be very aggressive much earlier than he has been now. And even though he's still quite far ahead on supply, this army of Grubby looks so there. Look, Grubby's going to hit the 3/3 timing with Storms.
Yeah, 15 seconds away, and Grubby's completed all the upgrades he needs.
I think he just checked his upgrades and he's like, no, not yet.
And checking his opponent hasn't got a 4th base either, I suppose, too. But we do have Cloak on the way, and also 3/3 for Jjakji, so he's going to climb up with his own upgrade shortly.
Oh,
but
this could be a big deal. There's not a single observer around on the map. Grubby, as well as he's played this, he's made a major mistake. By now, you should always anticipate Cloak's going to be out.
Cloak's not ready yet, not for another 40 seconds, and the fight is going to happen no matter which way we take it. The Zealots are at the back, so not the best of fights here for Grubby, and he's going to have to retreat. Where are the Storms? A couple come down on the Vikings, and the Stalkers are starting to get to them as well, which means a couple of Colossus are left over, but that's a lot of bio left. But is it going to be enough? Grubby barely holds on to this high point.
Yeah, and that army escaping by Jjakji is a big deal here. If he's actually chasing down, a little bit surprised. Jjakji should turn around and start a step maybe a little bit. See, but Stim is forced again.
He's lost all his Vikings, so there's a Colossus there, there's an Archon at the front, and a blink forward to get the Medivacs here. And Grubby's pushing his opponent all the way back. He did lose his 4th base. And it is 3 upgrades apiece right now, but with a Colossus and a single Storm about to be in a couple of seconds from Grubby here, he does have a very powerful army. There's a couple of ghosts that do pop out.
As good as the engagement was, I think if Jjakji had waited, obviously he didn't know that there was no observer. If he had waited for Cloak to finish, imagine how good he would have done.
Yeah, that seemed to be a very rushed fight from both sides there. Neither of them really properly ready to take that fight. Grubby was like trying to get in position. Jjakji just went for it.
Look at the Stalker on the top right-hand side. He got the vision from the Colossus. On the bottom right-hand side, sorry. He got the vision from the Colossus and he blinked up there. He's like the lone guardian, which can be spotted by the sensor tower.
Jjakji sees it and he's like, I wonder what that is. Like,
he's a probe there waiting.
He's like, what? What is this? How did you get up there? Well, Grubby's back to 2 Colossus now. He's got, 3 Colossus, 6 High Templar, and with resetting the Viking count. Jjakji's not taking any fights anytime soon here, which will allow Grubby to re-establish his 4th base. But Jjakji, in the meantime, because he cannot fight, is going to start harassing a little bit. He's got a little drop to the top left. Finds 2 High Templar. It's a nice little useful drop, I suppose, but not for much longer, as it does...
Oh, that other base going to get cancelled again. And you know what? The Colossi count is not that high. It's 3 right now. A 4th one hasn't started. If Jjakji gets on a Vikings, if he gets a good fight in the middle of the map, it's going to be very hard for Grubby to replenish his Colossi count because he has a single Robo, whereas we have 2 starports for Jjakji. So this is a mistake here again by Grubby, I think.
Look at the supply differences. And it's interesting because Jjakji's only been on 3 bases all game, but somehow he's quite far ahead in terms of overall supply. All right, well, the next part of this game's coming. We do have an observer being made for Grubby.
He has to.
Actually, the only observer in the entire game is being made right now. And Jjakji's army is climbing up in strength again. 119 army supply to 93.
Grubby might be taking this game to the very late game. I think he realizes right now that even though he has a scary army, he's behind on supply. And he doesn't want to take a bad engagement in the middle of the map, which against Jjakji, I've never seen anybody get a good engagement, maybe except SOS with Skyers and everything. So
Grubby just doesn't have a lot of probes, Todd. I mean,
oh, the Medivac on the left.
He's only at 45 probes here.
Yeah, he's lost a whole bunch.
Yeah, he's very, very low. He's only got that 1 base really mining, but he's moving down the bottom right-hand side here. He's got to be careful because there are cloak ghosts, and they do cloak up. And Grubby's in trouble. Where is that observer? I have absolutely no idea.
The Templars all get EMP'd. He's going to get chased down. This is what I was talking about.
He's got a storm left. He's got 1 storm, and it's kind of on the right-hand side. It's not exactly on the army there, and that's not the best storm he wanted. And look at the supply differences here. This is going to be a walkover fight for Jjakji as he kills off the Colossus and moves forward, and this is going to be a victory here as 70 supply to 176, and Jjakji's all over the place, dropped to the top left, and the army's gone for Grubby. And after a 25-minute game 1, it looks like the Korean will come out in the lead and take map number 1 there.
Jjakji is so damn solid. It's actually amazing. Like, even if he makes a mistake here and there, overall, he's just solid enough to never take, seriously, engagement-wise, I've never seen him take, like, an absurdly bad engagement where he gets crushed. Whereas even a lot of the top tiers, that's gonna happen. I mean, nobody never makes mistakes at this level as far as engagement goes. Like I've seen some of the top tiers move out at wrong times, get engaged very, very badly in the middle of the map and lose the game from there. But Jjakji, it just never seems to happen to him. Every time he attacked now, he was aware of where Grubby's army was. He knew where the Templars were. The EMPs, they were good enough every single time. The Viking, they never came from a bad angle in which they got crushed, not cost effectively. Even that one fight, the first big fight against the Colossus, they got stormed and there were Stalkers, but he knew that he had enough Vikings anyway to get rid of most of the Colossi, so it was okay.
So what do you think Grubby's... I mean, if Grubby was to just think about this game that just happened and was trying to summarize it himself on where it went wrong for him, because it was very back and forth throughout all of it. It was very difficult to really be like, Grubby's in the lead, then Jjakji's in the lead. What was one of the biggest problems you think that Grubby encountered in there? Was it his fights?
As much as the DTs did a little bit of damage, I'm not sure if it was wise to go for them. And also, remember the first big bad thing that happened to Grubby was that one mothership core that died with a lot of energy and this probe. So skipping a cannon in your middle line when you know your opponent has Medivacs and Widow Mines is actually very greedy because the new Widow Mines, they don't joke around. They get into your mineral lines, they blow up 6 probes at the time, and a cannon, to avoid losing a lot of probes, it's not a big investment. It's just 150 minerals, 300 in total if you get 1 per base. And also, the mothership core, as much as it was where it's supposed to be between its 2 bases, it was a little bit too low towards the ramp. So when Jjakji dropped, he was able to kill that, and Grubby wasn't even looking. It's supposed to be higher than that. Then it would be unreachable by Medivac and units. So that's also one of the mistakes. And as small of a mistake as it sounds, maybe cost him the game. If he had defended better at this point in the game,
Could
he
have
would
been
have
a much
pulled
better
very
lead.
far. He would have taken such an earlier or quicker third.
Yeah.
Imagine if he took a much quicker third. I think he could maybe end it a little bit later.
Yeah. All right. Well, as we all know, Grubby, it's not going to be a WCS, a tournament or league or whatever if Grubby doesn't lose the first game in a best of 3 or best of 5. He always goes behind and then is able, in the majority of games that he does win, to pull it around and find himself in the lead here. So wouldn't be counting him out yet, but a great display once again from Jjakji, just looking solid overall. Was taking good fights and just a very, very rock solid game here. The next map, going to be Frost, a 4-player map here, going away from the 2-player maps. What are you expecting, or maybe expecting? It's difficult to call, of course, what's going through these players' minds.
I'm going to stick with what I said earlier. Jjakji maybe, as much as we could see him go for a command center first, that first game showed that if he just played the standard, usual game, he's going to do fine. So maybe a Reaper, expand into standard playing Grubby, just Colossus, no DTs into Storm, and just a little bit less mistakes to win the game.
Look at that handsome grin Grubby's wearing there.
That's not a grin, that's a big smile.
A big banana grin, big banana smile. All right, map number 2 between these 2 players. And up to the top right here, currently leading in this best of 3, playing for Mind Sanity, it's Jjakji. And as per usual, it seems to be, Grubby trailing here. Down in the bottom left-hand side is the blue Protoss. It is, of course, a Grubby, who's taken his jacket off. It's getting heated
serious
in the arena. It's serious.
Things just got real.
Things just got real. If he was wearing a long sleeve top, that would have been unrolled by now. But he's already wearing a t-shirt, so it doesn't matter.
You know, I just asked Jjakji what he thinks about the fact that in France we nicknamed Jackie.
What did he say?
He didn't really think anything
He
about
was
it.
like, oh, that's nice. Thank you. And then just walks off. Oh, all right, Jjakji.
I like that Grubby is walling off on this map, by the way. This is something we've seen Liquid's hero do a lot and be very successful with. If you get this wall off in this corner of your base, you just basically take the gas over there, put the cybernetic core in the top left-hand corner, and no Reaper can go through this side. So if you have a Stalker on the other side, this is a much smaller area that you have to cover to not let the Stalker get in, scout you, and get out.
There's a cross-position scout here from Grubby.
Yeah.
A little bit unusual. As of course, this is a 4-player map. They can spawn top left and bottom right here, but he's gone across the map. And seems to be like he has a bit of a hint.
What does this mean?
In a log where somehow he knows where Jjakji is. And he finds him immediately and sees the Reaper opening.
If he had taken a second gas, I would be thinking he wanted to maybe to proxy a Stargate, so he wanted to clear one of the location to put the Stargate closer, but no, it's really weird. He just scouted cross-map first, and then he's sending his probe to like the middle. He didn't do the wall-off, by the way, in his base. Grubby is playing this a little bit weird. I have to say, I'm myself a little bit thrown off. And
Let's hope that Grubby's not thrown off then. Of course, he's a veteran like yourself. And Jjakji now scouting down to the bottom right is, of course, in hunt of where Grubby's main base is. He's gone for the Reaper, and we'll follow this up with the reactor and then, of course, the factory. I mean, that's not the factory, sorry, the command center. Are we going to see a factory this time? No, he's taken out a gas.
Grubby was just right outside the vision of the middle watchtower. Now he's going to go back there. He's going to maybe double check. I think what you want to see at this point, obviously, is if the Terran is still mining gas and if there is a factory on the way, which there isn't. So Jjakji, as I predicted here, is going to go into the most standard thing you can go into. Just some bio play with an expansion.
Yeah, taking out a gas there so we can get this second barracks down and then throw the SCVs back into gas so we can start to afford the tech lab and so on. As the probe does go in, and that's a nice scout there from Grubby, knowing that he doesn't need to worry about cannons, mineral lines, observers straight early on against potential Widow Mine drops here. And can continue on with his game plan, which we will soon to see. And even getting the probe to harass the SCV with going for a Reaper expand here. The Reaper's on the other side, and you had a reactor building, so you don't actually have any units to defend. But it's just a small delay there for Jjakji.
The probe's going to be killed here. Almost got an SCV. This kind of makes me think of the Blade Master from Warcraft. He's like, he has a probe instead now. Quite
Gets an SCV here and there. All right, so Twilight Council coming in for Grubby. This opens up the options to go Blink, also Dark Templar again, but I think we'd be looking at more so a Blink option here from Grubby.
You know, if he went for, I think his biggest chance at making some kind of big attack work or an early game attack would be to go for the build that we saw a lot in Katowice, which was the 6 gates blink. But with this, you need to chrono boost exclusively probes until you have a lot of them, and then you throw down additional. Yeah, you see, this is what Grubby wanted to avoid happening. If he had put the building on the left-hand side, now maybe he would not have been scouted and he would have killed the Reaper, which means Jjakji would have had a choice: scan or not know what he's up against.
And it's been spotted straight away here. Grubby throws down a Robo on Gateway, so it's not exactly aligned to a Twilight Council blink attack here. So he's kind of averted his strategy a little bit after it being scouted. But Jjakji's in the middle to greet him if he was still to move out with the Mothership Core, a Stalker or something. And through taking the Xel'Naga Tower here, he could easily pop out of the clouds and
it's
try
defensive
to snipe
blink,
something.
I think. But usually you get 3 gateways in total with that. Jjakji has played this interestingly, by the way. He didn't go for a third barracks.
He cancelled Blink, by the way, and threw down the Templar Archives instead.
Oh, he's going to rush to Storm. I like this move. Look at Jjakji. He's so paranoid. Because of the DT's last game, which he tried to anticipate, he tried to basically call a bluff, so to speak. Now he's like, you know what? I'm not going to take any risk. I get the eBay. He might start a turret. This is so good for Grubby.
Oh, and that's not so good for Grubby. He loses a Stalker immediately. The Mothership Core and another Stalker is actually very vulnerable here, but he is going to escape down the right-hand side of this map. But yeah, he's starting a turret. He doesn't really know what's going on here. I'm surprised that we haven't seen a scan or something come down from Jjakji. But actually, he's got an SCV in the main base. I have no idea how that SCV got in there, but he actually spots the Twilight Council, Temple Archives, Robo, everything.
This is big. He's going to want to look to put on a lot of pressure and not let Storm complete too easily. And Grubby just started Storm, then cancelled it. What is he thinking? I think he's afraid. Oh, his Mothership Core is very far away from his base. He might have to recall, but then he wouldn't have photon overcharge.
And his observer sees all these units outside there.
God.
They're about to have stim in 5 seconds' time. That Nexus is a big target right now.
He needs an Archon. He's going to try to get an Archon, but he has only double gateways. He needs extra gateways. He needs cannons. He needs anything.
All right, well, these units are just like, oh, wait a minute. You only... Wait, an Immortal, 2 Stalkers? Okay, and the Immortal goes down immediately.
The Mothership Core is going to fly towards those Marines.
The Archon is gone. The Stalkers are gone. The Mothership Core is gone. The Natural is exposed. The probes are exposed.
The Natural is gone.
And this has gone terrible here for Grubby, to put it a little bit harshly there. The Nexus is going to be targeted down. It doesn't look like it may get picked off here, but if the probes come to defend, then they will get slaughtered. So how is he going to deal with this? Not a good start here from Grubby. Just lots of different things going through his mind and indecisions, I think we can call it a little bit.
I think he tried to get too cheeky, you know? He tried to sell the story that he was going for Blink, so he moved across the map with the Mothership Core and some units to do that. But Jjakji, much like Pult, he was in position at the Watchtower and he was ready, he was counting on his opponent making mistakes, and it happened.
Yeah, well, he's kept the Nexus alive, but he's lost a lot of probes and even another Stalker there potentially. The Immortal does pop out to help, but behind this is not looking pretty, as we have a 3rd command center down, a 3rd and 4th barracks on the way. There's no way for Grubby to pressure this, and Jjakji is in the hot seat right now as he picks up. He drops down here out of Grubby's vision range, and with Grubby fully concentrated on defending his natural Nexus, which is half health, the main's exposed. He's going to run straight into the mineral line here. He realizes that Grubby just doesn't have anything really to defend, and he even gets a couple more probes. And this is not looking good. GG, Jjakji takes a 2-0. and moves into the winners match quite convincingly there in that second game.
Jjakji's good, man.
He's good. He's a very, very good player. Very solid. Good games from him. Grubby still with smiles, though, as he does drop down to the losers game here, the lower bracket, and will have to face off for his tournament life in the next best of 3 that he plays, which would be against either Daishi or Snoot. Likewise, that's who he will be playing on screen, the winner of that game.
You know, it's easy to criticize, by the way, what Grubby just did and be like, well, you know what, this just went really bad and it was bad for me, but actually it wasn't. I really like the attempt that he went for here. He tried to sell a story, moved across the map, a few units better placed, and him being able to spot where the army of Jjakji was, that SCV not sneaking in the main somehow, which, by the way, I have no idea how it got there. And this would have been a completely different game, because the Templar Archive finished at the time the starport was starting. Can you imagine how sick of an advantage that is? Usually that means you have your Mothership Core back at home, you overcharge against any amount of units, you make sure you don't die, you complete Storm, and then it's Christmas. You Storm drop, you kill SCVs, you force your opponent to go into Ghost, otherwise he just gets his entire stuff stormed. You take your own 3rd base before the Terran does, you do War Prisms, you just enjoy your time. But instead of that, he got completely caught out of position. I still think Grubby should have recalled, maybe, and waited for a photon overcharge. But then I guess it doesn't really make sense because the mothership core does nothing. I don't... he would have had that one unit. He had a stalker with it.
Yeah.
You know, he had a probe towards the natural of Jjakji, which was doing nothing, just standing there, maybe waiting to proxy a pylon later on to sell that story again.
Yeah.
And then it's the stalker that went to the middle watchtower that got sniped. And then from there, Grubby was like, oh my god, I'm actually in a lot of trouble. He had only 2 gateways too, which you're supposed to be on at least a few more than that. He made way too many probes. So not as crisp of a build as Jjakji too.
Well, Grubby, in the round of 32, if you can remember back to that, lost his very first game against TLO 0-2, and it looked quite bad for him, but he was able to make the comeback and still advance in second place in the round of 32, potentially still possible here today. But I suppose it's now time to hear from the man himself, Jjakji, who's on standby with Red Eye.
Thank you, Apollo. Yes, with Jjakji, who is going to give us a first. He's going to do this in English, so I thank you for that, because my Korean is very bad, okay? Congratulations, really, really good win. Talk me through map 1. Talk to me about map 1. How did it go for you? Were you surprised at all? were you surprised by Grubby in the way that he played? First map, yeah.
When I play first map, so nervous because I forget my earphone, from my team house. So I use other earphone, but so bad. So very nervous, but after first match, not nervous. So the second game, so easy peasy.
Easy peasy. You've been talking to MC too much. Talking to MC, easy peasy.
Yes, easy peasy.
So map 2, why was it so easy?
I see Grubby make Temple Archive and Robotics, so greedy build. So I think now I go Grubby base, never defense, so go attack.
And GG.
Yeah, and GG.
Okay. I want to welcome you to Europe because it's great to have you here in Europe for the first time. You were playing in Korea last year. It's been a long time since you won GSL.
Yes.
So have you come here to win and anything else doesn't matter?
What?
Do you, like finishing first here in Europe,
Yes.
is that the only thing that matters?
When I win GSL, Terran is strong, so I'm very low. Other people think Jjakji not strong, but now Terran is not bad but not good. So if this season I champion, I think so many people think Jjakji is strong, so I want to win.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. Jjakji is our first man through to the upper bracket final. He's going to play the winner of our next match, which is coming up very shortly. Don't go too far away. Daishi versus Snoot is coming up right after the break.